Is this the way a college town should be? Small and old, and nestled beside a river in the mountains of northern New England? There is a liberal arts college here. Is it the right college for you? Look at it carefully. Find out what goes on here, and if it meets your needs. It is a big decision. It is your decision toward a life that will best fit you. You have many colleges to choose from, but this is Dartmouth.
When the Dartmouth give a rouse for the college on the hill, for the long line of Ulster and the loyal sons who love her, give a rouse with a will, for the sons of old Dartmouth, the sturdy sons of Dartmouth, though round the girdle of earth a roamer's spell on them remains, they have the still north in their hearts, the hill winds in their veins, and the granite of New Hampshire in their muscles and their brains, and the granite of New Hampshire in their muscles and their brains.
The Bennett family was seeing Dartmouth for the first time. Like a lot of other fellows in secondary school, Bert Bennett was trying to decide about college and had written for an appointment with the director of admissions later that afternoon. As a member of the Green Key Welcoming Society, I was the college guide on duty. After at the Hanover Inn, I got right behind the wheel. Most of Dartmouth's 2,700 men live in dormitories. You can pick your roommate, or if you wish, the college will select one for you. The choice is wide. Men in the freshman class of over 700 come from more than 450 different schools around the country, large and small, public and private. You furnish your room to suit your own taste, and there's a choice of yearly room rentals.
Wild? Yeah. Theorem? Theorem? Hey, how many? Theorem? That's it.
The postmark could be from a new friend at one of the women's colleges, or perhaps from that girl back home.
I'm glad you liked the brownies so much, even though I left out the egg and most of the sugar.
Fraternity life is active at Dartmouth, but men are not invited to join fraternities until the start of their sophomore year, after a full freshman year to become acquainted. The fellowship of the fraternity is important, but friendships at Dartmouth are made throughout the college, and to encourage this, only juniors and seniors may live at the houses, and no meals are served.
Anyone going to the flick? Come on!
The Flick is the Nugget Theatre, a name traditional with Dartmouth men since the early days of the silent movies. After the flick, stop in at the snack bar. There could be a bull session about the movie, plans for a very special weekend date, or some hard talk about a coming exam. And that snack will help out. It's a long time until breakfast in Thayer Hall. Some of the boys earn all their meals by working a few hours a day in Thayer. We kept our eye on the clock that afternoon because of Bert's appointment with the Director of Admissions. The interview is not required for admission, but many boys do make a visit to Hanover.
Mr. Chamberlain, how do you do?
Come in. Hanover's right in the heart of New England, and we're about 140 miles from Boston. Now, why don't you tell me something about yourself? Why are you particularly interested in Dartmouth?
Well, Mr. Chamberlain, I know quite a few of the fellows up here, and I've heard a lot about the college from the Dartmouth alumni back home. And I like the idea of a smaller college. And also, since I'm from the West, I thought it would be an education in itself just to live back in the East. And the most important reason of all, I think, is that I wanted to get a good liberal arts education before I went on to graduate school.
Graduate school?
Yes, I want to be a lawyer. Or I do now, anyway.
You have plenty of time to make up your mind. The first 2 or 3 years at a liberal arts college will give you ample opportunity to explore. And then if later you make up your mind definitely to go on to law school, you will find that Dartmouth has given you a fine preparation. Over half of our students every year go on to graduate school. You know, Dartmouth isn't actually a small college. In the Ivy League, it is neither the smallest nor the largest. We have approximately 2,700 undergraduates from all states of the Union and from 32 foreign countries. I noticed from what you have written here that you were doing construction work last summer.
Wasn't much, mostly just general labor.
Well, just what did you do?
Well, the truth of the matter is I did all the unpleasant jobs that nobody else wanted to do. But I did manage to save a small amount of my summer earnings. Oh, by the way, that reminds me, Mr. Chamberlain, a friend of mine wanted me to find out about scholarships up here at Dartmouth.
You tell him that if he has the qualifications, he may receive financial aid here. Over 700 boys on the campus now are receiving financial aid. The actual amount of the aid depends upon the candidate's particular need. If a boy lives any great distance from Hanover, why, the expense involved in travel is also included in the amount. I can send him a bulletin if you wish.
Well, yes, that would be fine.
Do you have any other questions that you'd like to ask me now?
Well, I think you've answered most of them. Well, of course, I'm still pretty worried about my chances of being admitted.
I looked over your record this morning. It's pretty good. We have most of the available data in. Your grades, your rank in class, and last year's college board scores are high. Your principal thinks well of you. Our alumni interviewing committee thinks you're a strong candidate. You've apparently done well in many things, although we can't tell about most candidates this early because admission to Dartmouth is competitive and we don't select our classes until the spring. I think you have a most excellent chance. I think you would take advantage of Dartmouth's opportunities. I think you would enjoy the resources of our Baker Library, and I think you really would enjoy your associations with our teaching staff. The Dartmouth teaching staff is...
Dartmouth's location and traditions have brought to Hanover some of the country's most able teachers. Most classes are small, and through the honors program, many men work even more closely with their professors, free to plan their own course of study and proceed at their own pace. Alumni looking back on their undergraduate days feel that often the professor was as important as the subject. Some of Dartmouth's great teachers aren't much older than their students, while others have been teaching most of their lives.
I'd rather you wouldn't behave the way the crowd did in the Agora in Athens on one occasion. A philosopher was lecturing to a group, a random group, who were loitering around the Agora. When the fish bell rang announcing the opening of the market, the group immediately left him and ran to the fish market, except for one attentive listener who kept his eye fixed on the lecturer, and when the lecturer had finished and complimented him for not running away at the ringing of the bell, he said, "Oh, has the fish bell rung?" And away he ran too.
What would you say is the turning point line in Othello? I think that the turning point line occurs in Act 3, Scene 3, shortly after line 200. You remember Iago is trying to undermine Othello's faith in Desdemona, and he says, I know our country disposition well. In Venice they do let heaven see the pranks they will not show their husbands. Their best conscience not believed undone, but kept unknown. And Othello replies, dost thou say so? She did deceive her father, marrying you, and when she seemed to shake and fear your looks, she loved them most. And so she did.
The steering committee has arranged for us to hear from two leaders of American political life whose opinions differ substantially. Tonight, we have the opportunity to listen to a leader of American political life who has an influential voice in policy determination within his own party and who has repeatedly been elected by the people of this state to positions of distinguished leadership.
And so we have derived the mean value theorem of the integral calculus from the mean value theorem of the differential calculus.
The target which the accelerated particles strike was at the front of this column inside the glass chamber. But neutrons are uncharged, and therefore they cannot be accelerated. As a result, we produce the neutrons in a nuclear reaction which takes place here in the target.
All right, man, that setup looks pretty good. You've got the electrodes on the vagus nerve now, and I think you're getting a good record of the heartbeat. Now tap the key, and keep tapping the key until the heart stops beating. Keep on, tap it now. Now the heart should stop beating, and the lever will come down low and rest on a baseline. Keep on going. Perhaps give it a little stronger stimulus. Is it relaxing any? There it is. Stop it now. The heart stopped beating. Now after a period of time, the heart will recover from this inhibition and start its normal beat again, and you want to get a complete record of the... There she comes. See, the heart started beating again. You want to keep on running the record until you get back to the control beat.
Yeah. Что со времени Женевской конференции что-то изменилось.
She's quoting Khrushchev's speech, the first secretary of the party.
Своей линии поведения. Если кто-либо думает, что наши улыбки
If anybody thinks that our smiles mean that we're deserting the doctrines of Marx, Engels, and Lenin, he said, they're just deceiving themselves. Anybody who's waiting for that can wait till the crabs start whistling in the ocean.
What is then the difference between the first two themes of the Eroica?
Well, in the first theme, Beethoven has used short values in the third measure, unsyncopated, but in the second theme, he uses the short with a syncopation starting after the second beat. Where else do you find syncopation in music?
Jazz.
Yes, in American jazz. For example, take this piece of Richard Rodgers. Here's Rodgers' Blue Room, for example. Here you've got a syncopation, of course, in every measure, but Beethoven does it even more subtly. He makes the entry syncopated.
It isn't easy at first glance to realize the size and scope of Baker Library. Actually, with over 750,000 volumes, It is one of the largest and best undergraduate libraries anywhere. You can go wherever you wish in Baker. There is a lot to the library, of course, but it isn't long before you really know your way around. All 9 levels of the stacks are open for your exploration. A number of quiet areas are reserved in Baker for men who wish to read assignments, do research work, or write papers. And some men have study rooms of their own for working on special projects. Baker is large enough to include the unusual, an old map of southeastern Alaska in the map section, or an obscure foreign magazine in the periodical room. In college work, library resources take on a new usefulness and importance. And if a man wants to make the most of the library, he learns to browse, to look into the many special collections, to read in the tower room, to keep in touch with contemporary writing in the new book sections, to scan the shelves in the stacks or the treasure room, and perhaps, as one of my professors says, to find something that might open a new door. The college infirmary, Dick's house, treats everything from hard colds to broken legs. And there is even an apartment for the parents of men who are seriously ill. The doctors are drawn from the large staff of Mary Hitchcock Hospital, which also serves as an important center for the Dartmouth Medical School, the 3rd oldest in the country.
Two principal types. First, for generalized feeding in such cases as new acute polio, or in some cases of rheumatoid arthritis, where it's desirable.
Dartmouth has 3 professional schools, which men may enter as seniors in the college. After 1 more year, they receive a 2-year certificate in medicine or degrees in business administration or engineering. Dartmouth's Thayer School offers courses in civil, electrical, and mechanical engineering. They have a rocket engine there that actually sprays molten metal. Largest of Dartmouth's 3 graduate schools, the Amos Tuck School, prepares men for careers in the business world. Prepares them thoroughly, that is, even for such specific duties as the morning coffee break. Webster Hall, the college auditorium, is busy most of the year. You should see some of the productions that the Dartmouth players put on.
Nothing can part us. Carl, my pet, how did you manage to get away from champagne, jasmine, and haricot?
How did I?
You remember, Uncle, they came in here and threw a cloak over you and started to...
Oh, you see, my dear, they wrapped me up in a cloak and carried me outside and set me down and explained that this whole thing was a burglary practice.
But did they have to practice on you?
Oh, well, I happened to be the first person handy. It might have been anyone. Look, he's escaped. Seize him.
Another practice.
Okay. Ewan, don't kid the last line quite so much. It's funnier if you don't kid it. I think we better start going through it right again. You mind going out and...
At other times, Webster Hall has outstanding lecturers, soloists, and concert artists. The hall was named for Daniel Webster, Dartmouth, class of 1801. Some Glee Club men also sing in the town's church choirs. The Church of Christ at Dartmouth College, as old as the college itself, was gathered by Dartmouth's founder in 1769, before the American Revolution. Along with the other churches in Hanover, it is important in the voluntary religious life of the college. The Daily Dartmouth is known as the oldest college newspaper in America. Every night, student members of the staff are down at the printing company, putting the paper to bed in thoroughly professional fashion. As a member of the Associated Press, the Daily D carries national and international as well as college news. Part of the college news is political, no less hot because it's local. Class officers have seats on the Undergraduate Council, which includes representatives of organizations like the Student Radio Station and the publications. Dartmouth's location, in the heart of some fine hunting and fishing country, gives rise to the many activities of the Dartmouth Outing Club. The club has 16 cabins of its own, scattered on 100 miles of trails. And for weekend trips, there's the 26,000-acre College Grant in the northern New Hampshire wilderness. And when the snow comes, and northern New Hampshire has plenty of it, it is rumored that a few of the boys go skiing. Ski lessons are given on the golf course as part of the college's regular recreational program. While the freshmen are learning on the golf course, the experts are pointing their skis toward the Dartmouth Winter Carnival, held each year in February. Dartmouth has a place of its own in the history of skiing, and Carnival always brings together some of the nation's best skiers for intercollegiate competition, which is often a preview of men who will race on Olympic teams. Dartmouth has 18 varsity teams and 12 intramural sports, enough for almost anyone to find fellows to team up with. One thing visitors notice, but that we take for granted, is how close the athletic facilities are to the campus. The field house, gymnasium, hockey rink, and playing fields are right in the middle of things. In fact, 5 minutes will take you almost anywhere in the college. The intramural teams practice in a freewheeling fashion, but sometimes use the same razzle-dazzle the varsity works to perfect in its practice sessions down by the gym. There are times when that point after is the make or break in a big game, and this is one of the things the head coach checks on personally. There is nothing quite like a football weekend in Hanover. Hundreds of dates come up from the women's colleges for the dances and parties. And we let them hear it when those Indians come on the field. Some of the boys in the college band double in brass by playing in the ROTC band when the boys put on their uniforms for reviews. We have Army, Navy, and Air Force units at Dartmouth. Membership is voluntary. You should have been here when the President of the United States received an honorary degree at commencement. The audience stretched far back onto the campus, and a special platform was made in front of Baker Library. Everyone helped with the arrangements, and a number of us stayed in Hanover after classes to act as ushers. The President's now famous "Don't Join the Book Burners" speech, delivered in front of our own library, was one of those things you don't forget. And we're still talking about that Sunday afternoon. Just the other day out on campus, President Dickey told me that he thought it was one of the great days in the modern history of the college. That's when I asked him a question I'd been mulling over in my mind for quite a while. "Come on up to the office later in the day," he said, "and we'll talk it over." I was there at 3.
Hello. Nice to see you. Right down, please.
Thank you.
It's nice to carry on with you, Dan, for a moment, and to try to get at that question you put to me out there on the campus. I suppose it came down to how do you answer a kid brother's question or a high school friend's question. Why go to college? I suppose you might get at it for such a fellow by saying to him that every fellow throughout his life is trying to create his life in the form of a pyramid. He's trying to push the point of that pyramid up just as high as he can push it on his job and his family relationships, as a husband, as a father, and he's trying to push the point of that pyramid up as a citizen, as a friend, as just one fellow who ultimately has got to make his peace, Dan, with the universe. And how best can a man prepare to build that kind of a pyramid? Well, the bet of a liberal arts college such as Dartmouth is that the best way to begin is to get a broad foundation for that pyramid out of the total wisdom that the human race has sweated out in its long history, and to bring that wisdom to bear on the individual man attending college, so that he can be made whole in both competence and conscience, and in the course of his lifetime build the kind of a pyramid which will be stable because of the breadth of its base, and which will give him opportunities to put it up here or here or here. A pyramid that is built with that kind of a base is a more stable pyramid, and it offers a man richer choices in fashioning a life that will best fit him.
Is this the way a college town should be? Small and old and nestled beside a river in the mountains of northern New England? There is a liberal arts college here. Is it the right college for you? Look at it carefully. Find out what goes on here, and if it meets your needs. It is a big decision. It is your decision toward a life that will best fit you.